Good evening and welcome to our candidate forum for Santa Clara County Sheriff. The League of Women Voters is very happy to be hosting this evening. And we have a large group signing in to join us this evening, so we're looking forward to having all of you. This is a grassroots organization. We have 5 local leagues in the county, which are all sponsoring tonight, and we are hosting, and we're part of the San Jose Santa Clara League. We also have a Cupertino Sunnyvale, a Los Altos Mountain View, a Palo Alto, and a Southwest Santa Clara Valley. We have Bay Area organization and state as well as national. We have been around for 100 years. In fact, we celebrated that in 1920 in February. This is a nonprofit, nonpartisan political organization, and we really want to encourage, inform, and active participation in government. We never support or oppose a candidate. We're into voter service and education this evening with our candidates forum. We also do pro and cons on ballot issues, and of course, voter registration is a really important thing that we support. Voter's Edge is one-stop shopping, and the Voter's Edge program is sponsored by us. We want to encourage you to go to Voter's Edge, and we're going to have a picture of it in just a second on the screen. And there it is. It's your personal ballot. If you log in there, you will find that the candidates, measures, campaign financing, all of those things will be for you personally, because you'll enter your address and your zip code and it will come up. It's very, very handy. We encourage you to do that, especially with redistricting lately. So, welcome again, and I am Rosaline Zish, your hostess and your moderator for tonight's program. I want to make sure that you all know just what a job our sheriff has to do. The Santa Clara County Sheriff needs to be dedicated to the preservation of public safety by providing innovative and progressive service in partnership with the communities. They are specifically responsible for the following communities who don't have their own police force, and that is Cupertino, Los Altos Hills, Saratoga, and all the unincorporated Santa Clara County, which is quite a spread. Tonight, we are going to be having our candidates here, and they will be introduced shortly. I want to make sure that you're aware that the questions that we're going to be using were prepared for us by questions sent in by you and then reviewed by our members to make sure that they were appropriate. We have plenty of political issues, but we're very careful about making sure that the questions are inclusive. Tonight, all the candidates will be asked to respond to all questions. And the formation for tonight's forum will be the following. Each candidate will make a 30-second opening statement. Next, they will respond to questions submitted by you, as I just told you. And then the questions will these are the ones that have been reviewed. There'll be 30 seconds to 1 minute to respond to each of the questions. And then finally, the candidates will have a 1 minute closing. The closing statement may have 30 seconds added onto it if they have not used their rebuttal. And the candidates all have been informed about this, but they're welcome to use their rebuttal during the other portion of the forum. And that's a 30-second piece. Now I'd like to introduce the candidates to you. And they are Donte Allen, and Kevin Jensen, and Robert Bob Jonsen, there he is, and Christine Nagaye. And the other candidate will not be able to join us this evening, and that's on Colton. So we welcome all of you this evening. I'm really happy to see you. I have this little dish in front of me, and it has all of your names in it since we couldn't be in person. And I'm going to pick one, and then you will be the person to start us this evening. And the person I picked was Sean. So Sean, you're going to be up for the first question, and that will be, why do you want to be sheriff? Sean? There he is.
Hi. Are we doing the introductions or not?
Oh, I'm so, you know what? I am so sorry, Sean. You were quite right. You know what? But we'll still go with you first, you lucky person. Okay, yes, you each get a 30-second introduction. And if you want to cover that question, you are welcome to cover it then.
All right. Thank you. My name is Sean Allen.
Thank you, Sean. Right.
Okay. All right. Thank you. My name is Sean Allen. I am a native of Santa Clara County. I've worked for the Sheriff's Office for approximately 32 combined years. My platform is based on public safety, accountability, reforms, and transparency, and the proper care and adequate care, providing adequate care for people challenged with mental health. I'm looking forward to being the sheriff, and I'm looking forward to working with the community as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. And I'm going to go to Kevin next.
Thank you. I've got a 37-year record. I started in 1985. I've been with one department. When I left the department, I was running for sheriff then, got 41%. And the reason I'm running is because my motivation is I signed up here because somebody gave me a chance. I went through all the management, executive management positions, ran the jails as the assistant chief when it was a national model. And I feel like we lost our way. I've been calling out the mismanagement for over 10 years. I'm the most qualified and run the most money in budget with 190 million and a task force, a personnel of 1,200. I'm the person who has been here, who has tried to call out the mismanagement, and I hope that people will see that it takes courage to do that, and I hope that I'll get your vote.
Thank you, Kevin. And we'll go to Bob.
Good evening. I'm Bob Jonsen, and I've worked 3 different law enforcement agencies over the past 36 years. And that provides me a broad perspective and really a paradigm on policing that's not shaped on the lens of one organization. And it's really based on having that broad perspective of serving diverse communities throughout the state and finding solutions that are unique for each of those agencies that I've worked for. I'm a chief of police and been a chief for the past 9 years, addressing some of the profession's most challenging issues. I have addressed accountability, transparency, and police reform. I've also worked with mental health programs and integrating them into our community.
Right.
And the Mercury.
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you
very much. Right. And Christine? Need to unmute yourself, dear.
Unmute.
Great.
Sorry about that. Law enforcement is critical to Santa Clara County, and we need our communities to be safe. But we also need to change the culture from that of a warrior cop to more the culture of a guardian cop. I will initiate reforms while keeping our community safe from crime and violence. I will also implement an independent review of all enforcement practices. I'm a fighter, and I can take the bumps and bruises that come along with shaking up an industry. And I will be ready on day 1 to be your next sheriff of Santa Clara County. Thank you.
Thank you. And now we'll go to our first question. Since you all have told us a little bit about why you want to do it, we're going to go to the next question. And we will go to, what are your qualifications that make you the best candidate? And we'll start with Kevin on this.
Thank you. I have the most qualifications in this very specific department because they gave me a chance at 21 years of age. I have been top cop in the academy. a sergeant, a lieutenant, a captain, an assistant chief. I was the coroner. I ran the SWAT. I did internal affairs, every job that you could do here. So some would like to say it's an insider, but basically I would agree with them until the point where I said, I can't take the mismanagement and the corruption. I have fought hard. I've served with excellence in every job, and I have all the law enforcement endorsements that have endorsed. I also have bipartisan support. For me, it's personal. We've been here a long time. I joined law enforcement to make it better. What's happened the last 10 years, I've called out of the Board of Supervisors, the Blue Ribbon Commission on the jails. I got correctional officers to testify at those meetings. I am for reform because we are better than this. We deserve better in the county. That's why I want this job, because I've been here from the beginning. It's been part of me, and I have the trust of all the people that have to make the changes. 97% of our own agency endorse me. So I appreciate that work. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. And now anyone else who would like to speak to this question is welcome. Just right. Yes, right.
So I get to go?
Yes, certainly.
Okay, different formats. I just said that's fine. I think I'm the best candidate because I'm the only candidate that's had executive positions in both the sheriff's organization and the largest sheriff's organization in the world of Los Angeles and a municipality. I also have addressed the issues that I spoke to about transparency, accountability, and reform. So I have also a reputation of stabilizing agencies, making them more transparent, and building relationships in the community. Those accomplishments over the 3 decades in this profession have led to state and national awards, such as the James Q. Wilson Award for Community Policing, the Helen Putnam Award for Excellence in Public Safety, and the International Chiefs of Police Award for Community Policing. I understand the complexity of a sheriff's organization because I've worked one. I also understand the nuances of running a small organization. And this is what this is about, handling both large, complex portions of the organization and also dealing with the communities and the contract cities that we work for. So my approach to leadership is really one of collaboration, trust, and respect. So thank you.
Right. Thank you very much. Christina, would you like to speak?
Absolutely. Thank you. I am, and I will be, the new eyes of the Sheriff's Office here in Santa Clara County. I am not entrenched in the old ways that my opponents are, and I am not afraid to make real changes that are needed for our agencies. My opponents, they had a chance to make the changes, but these changes were never made. I am a 20-year veteran of the Sheriff's Office. I have led multiple teams of deputies, and I lead a team of deputy that is the size of some police agencies in our county. I'm a 25-year resident of the Bay Area and a 17-year resident here of San Jose. My daughters are raised here. They attend public school here, and I represent the diversity of Santa Clara County. I am an LGBTQ ally. I am married to a man of color, so my representation as sheriff will be a full representation for the Sheriff's Office moving forward.
Thank you. Sean?
Hi. So I represent the diversity of this community better than anyone. I understand what's going on with the department. I've been intimately involved with some of the critical incidents that have been at the forefront of this. And I have, unlike everyone else, already instituted and already fought reforms. I've already held the administration accountable. I have done a lot of training. I understand the training. I understand where we're failing in law enforcement. I definitely understand the culture. And the culture is a leadership. So people are complaining or saying that they have administrative experience. It's the administration's fault that the culture exists in law enforcement the way it does, the perception of the entire country about our profession. This is a profession. This is a proud profession, but we're failing. And I can best lead the agency in fixing these problems within our agency because I've identified the problems. It's not going to take me a term to figure out where the issues are and how to resolve them. So I believe I'm the best fitted for the job. I've led 2 out of 3 of our unions, and I understand the employees and what the employees need as well. And that's my story. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. Our next question, and I just want to remind you that you all will answer every question. I kind of was, you do not have to raise your hand. Sorry about that. And we're going to start first with you, Bob, on this question. And how would you change the process of getting permits for concealed weapons?
Yeah, no, I think that's a great question. You know, as you know, and hopefully everybody that's listening tonight, California is a may issue state. And I think that's really what's led to some of the issues around concealed firearm permits. And for those that may not know, it means that you can file all the paperwork, you can have all the qualifications, and then yet the sheriff or the chief of police of a municipality has the ability to approve that, even with all the qualifications there. I actually believe that if the qualifications are there, in addition to some other aspects, which I think are important, I think there needs to be more training up front. Right now, there's only 8 hours required. I would actually think at least 24 hours. I would also like to see a psychological component to that process. I think that's really important, especially with what we're facing in our society today. And I would also have a qualifications, an annual qualifications to be recertified as part of the component. And with those in place, I think we would have a pretty safe protocol to issue concealed firearms in a fair and impartial way. But again, I'd be a huge advocate for instilling those. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Kevin, would you like to respond to that one?
Certainly. I've done an extensive research and I've toured other counties and watched what they've done. And what happened here was just tragic. We had people getting gun permits because they had to buy them. That'll never happen. So the system is already being formed with me. I'm going to separate myself from the system so that the panel can make those decisions based on meeting the requirements of the law. And the way that it is now, it's been misused. People's permits were in there. It's going to be transparent. There's going to be a process and the process will be followed. And yes, they will be issued and they will be issued fairly and responsibly with correct training, with common sense as part of the training. Not just can you hit a target, but are you going to operate this with common sense? Are you going to store it safely? And so I think what we've failed to realize is that those that are responsible for CCWs and those that are responsible gun owners are not the ones causing the problem. So I believe with a fair system, one that doesn't give me money for it, one that is done by my panel and that I only come in for a tiebreaker, it'll be a system that works, unlike what's happened here. It's been tragic.
Thank you very much. Sean, would you like to respond?
Sure. Well, it's obvious that our system is corrupted. It's my idea to uncorrupt the system. The system is not a bad one. That's a system that's in place. However, I plan on putting a full-time staff member or contractor there to process the concealed weapons permits and establish a fair and equitable process. I'd like to add additional training to our concealed weapons permit process. And with those funds from that additional training, I'd like to use to help out victims of violence. Again, the system is a broken one because of the establishment who represents the establishment. And I don't believe it's an easy fix, but it's a fixable problem, and there's a fixable solution as long as it's fair and equitable. And I think I know that's my idea to put in process.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Christine?
Thank you very much for the question. My idea with the CCW system is completely opposite of my counterparts here. I have opted to research and I have found a company that does a 100% fully automated CCW system. By that, it's San Mateo County uses it and it's extremely transparent. If information is needed at any one point, information can be redacted and the agencies or the entities that are requesting the information will have the information within a matter of minutes or we'll say days, if that, but it will be 100% digital and I will not have any part of it whatsoever. There will not be a physical person that has a part of it other than having a psychological evaluation, which is already done, and the weapons qualification and the fingerprinting part of it. Otherwise, it will be fully electronic and I will have nothing to do with the selection process. Thank you.
Thank you. And Christine, I'm going to come back at you for the next question. And this one is rather interesting. What modifications would you make regarding the incarceration and care of individuals displaying symptoms of mental illness?
Thank you. That is a wonderful question, and I appreciate that question. we do have over 40% of our incarcerated residents diagnosed with a mental illness, and has become quite the problem ever since the Reagan era, when the public has voted to remove these safe facilities for our mentally ill and have put them into the jail system. Now our inmates, they are in jail and they have become criminals. We are criminalizing them just because they are in an institution of ours, and it needs to stop. We currently offer the behavioral health system offers the medication and the needs that they have, but my plan is to implement a new mental health facility. And we have so many vacant county-owned buildings. If we can retrofit a building for ADA needs, we can retrofit some of these vacant county buildings for our mentally ill so they can get the assistance that they need and not be housed in one of our facilities.
Thank you. And can we go over there to Kevin for this one?
Sure. The problem was they were not safe facilities back in the day when they closed down. There was abuse, sexual abuse, physical abuse, and that's why Atascadero and others were closed. What we really need is people to take the time to think about a project that's coordinated when we deal with mental health. I've advocated with the Board of Supervisors to build facilities, but not just take large sums of money and throw them. We have hospitals all over the county. On those lands, it would be best to bring those mental health facilities there. If we can't get them there, then we have other properties, but we need to get them close by. The problem with the jails is we had people coming in that were not being served right under our administration. We had a plan. We were actually a national model when I was a chief. What we need now is both. We can't get away with jails because there are predators out there, but we also have to treat the mentally ill like mentally ill and give them the help they need on the front end. So I'm advocating for a both system. Let's fund them properly, build them where we have hospitals, get a coordinator to help with mental illness, with homelessness and addiction, because without a coordinator, we have many good intentioned people doing it all on their own, and we need to coordinate efforts.
Thank you. Thank you. And Sean, your response?
Again, this is a system I'm pretty familiar with. We have one housing unit that's customized for people challenged with mental health. That model works when it's properly staffed and when we have the proper resources. So we need a facility that's structured like that, not one housing unit as we have today. And we need to staff it just as it is. It seems to work. It's prevented a lot of the, it's structured so we prevented a lot of suicides that we've seen in the other areas of the jail. It's structured so that there's constant care, constant people looking in on these people challenged with mental health. So it is absolutely necessary for us to have a separate facility for them. The numbers are, as you already heard, 40%. I've said this before, and that where they're at now is not the environment. So a mental health facility is the ideal resolution to this problem, staffed with people just as we're doing it right now in our 8A housing unit.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Bob, it's all yours.
Yeah, I mean, I love the idea of a new building, housing, all that, but that takes millions and billions of dollars and a lot of time, right? We got to deal with this issue right now. And one of the things that Susan Ellenberg, Supervisor Ellenberg, asked the county was to invest in that continuum of care. And I actually support that concept. But again, we can't wait 5, 10, 15 years for that to happen. We need to start implementing programs today so we can normalize and re-socialize these individuals. We can do it in the front end, and we're doing it here in Palo Alto with the psychiatric emergency response team, where a mental health officer or mental health clinician is partnered with an officer, so we can get them to resources before they ever reach the level of criminal activity. We need to have more of those teams throughout the county, and that's something I'll be advocating for. We need to also improve the staffing, and we can quickly do that by partnering with our educational institutions who are offering programs for clinicians, psychiatrists, and psychologists, and give them an intern opportunity inside the correctional facilities. We can double our staffing for mental health resources almost immediately, because I know there's a huge demand for that workforce to get that intern hours, and we can do that in our correctional facilities today. And those are the things that I'll be working on from day one.
Thank you. Thank you. This is a question, and I'd like Kevin to take this one first. What will be your policy concerning patrol stops of drivers?
So the policy on patrol stops of drivers are going to be very similar to what we have, but I think it should be modified with listening to the community. I think the problem with our current sheriff's administration is they wanted to do it their way. How many times have you seen a sheriff's office forum? How many times have you seen a best practices? I happen to be a former California state president of the FBI National Academy Alumni Association. We have 17,000 members across the world, except for North Korea and China, of course. And what I have is an opportunity to utilize those resources to get best practices and models. We want to work with our communities. We want to work with those people in the state. And we want to say that every driver has an understanding that they're not going to be pulled over for anything other than a respectful stop. However, if there is a crime, we are going to escalate based on the crime, not on color, origin, or any other matter. So my policy will always be utilizing patrol stops to deter crime, to help people when they need help. Some people don't realize that they have a mechanical malfunction, but it will be with respect, and it'll be along a national model that says policing is supposed to help people, not hurt them.
Thank you. Thank you. Christina, will you respond to that one?
Yes. I'll keep it very simple here. I will instruct my deputies, and my deputies will be trained to just abide by what we've always had in place is the spirit of the law. We have the spirit of the law and the letter of the law. And they need to abide by the spirit of the law. If they feel that somebody is not dangerous and they're not at risk of being a danger to the community, then they do have that option to not stop them. But if there is a risk or a danger to the community, then by all means, they will use their judgment. They are trained professionals, and under my reform, they will be highly trained, even more so now, to conduct these types of stops that we'll have in our communities.
Thank you. Bob?
Yeah, I mean, traffic stops are something that cause issues for agencies throughout our country. And one of the things that I've always emphasized, the importance and the authority that these men and women are empowered with. Tremendous amount of authority to take a person's freedom, detain them, take their property. And if, it leads to that, could potentially take their life. So they definitely need to understand the authority that they have on every single stop and be able to articulate that from the moment they see the vehicle, the reason they're stopping the vehicle, the reason they're interacting, and how they interact. I also am very much for respect from the moment they have contact all through the way through that interaction. But one of the things that really helps us in Palo Alto and helps us in many agencies is making sure there's accountability measures in place, not just the training, not just the compliance with policy and protocol and law, but also having body cameras. Palo Alto, as you may know, has 6 cameras on every stop, 5 on the vehicle, 1 on the officer. Having that accountability and that every stop captured is really important. And as you know, we just started tracking every single contact that we have through the new law. Actually, it's been a law, the RIPA law, racial profiling law. And now we can actually track 17 aspects of every stop into a database. And it'll be a matter of reviewing that.
Right. Thank you very much. Sean?
Well, our nation again has had a problem with profile stopping. It was really big in Los Angeles over the last few years. One of our former police chiefs here in one of our cities was advocating stopping African Americans. So, how we're doing that, again, it goes to the culture. If you show me a bad law enforcement employee, I'll show you a product of poor training, poor leadership every time. So probable cause, making sure the community is safe, no Terry stops, common sense practices. Of course, our camera system is what it is, and it should be transparent. We're not making it available to the community as we can reasonably do. This is Silicon Valley. We can show things a lot earlier, and we're a high tech community. And at the same time, we want to preserve all the due process rights of our employees and our citizenry. So that's doable. I think that the policy needs to be enhanced in the sheriff's office. We have some archaic policies and practices, and I intend to do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next question, and let's have Bob take this one first, please. And this one says, what is your position concerning the use of military equipment by the Sheriff's Department?
Right, so that's a great question, and many agencies are addressing that right now due to the new law. And if you're not familiar, there's a law out there that requires every agency to report their military equipment, have a policy in place for that. You know, in Palo Alto, relatively small organization, we don't utilize a lot of military equipment. We definitely have some aspects, but I think it's important because this is a paramilitary organization, law enforcement. So there are tools that we need, especially to address some of those high risk incidents that we respond to. We need to make sure our people are safe as well as the community maintains their safety. So I think it's a very thoughtful conversation that needs to be had for each community and each agency on the resources they need, but they need to be very transparent about that. And that's what this new law will require, is every agency to be upfront about the type of equipment they have and report it to the public.
Thank you. Christina, would you like to respond?
Yes, thank you. Again, a short answer. I am against having any type of military equipment at any police agency, sheriff's agency whatsoever. I will demilitarize law enforcement because it goes against what I've spoken to earlier of the warrior cop mentality. We need to get rid of the warrior cop mentality that the public sees us as, that the nation sees us as, and we need to bring in the guardian cop mentality. We need to be protectors, and we do not need military grade weaponry to protect our communities if they are trained right and they have the proper education.
Thank you. Sean?
Well, the issue of militarizing a police force is obvious, right? We're trying to build trust in our communities. So, is there a need for certain tools? That law enforcement is what it is. So when we have serious things like active shooters or any type of aggressive large scale event that threatens public safety, then there are some uses for it. But how we're implementing the use of that is the question. And the thing I have a problem with. How we're utilizing our canines, right? All this stuff goes again back to training and administration and leadership. And we should be transparent with any use. We should only use it when necessary. We have a community of we teach in law enforcement. It's been taught at a failure to me as we do what's we can justify, and that's not what's necessary. And that's the big problem. So if it's necessary, we should use these things. If it's not necessary, we should not. The object is to keep people safe and protect the rights of the community as well as other employees. Again, thank you.
Thank you. Kevin?
Yeah, thank you. So the last assignment I had was dealing with risk all across the state of California. I was the risk management program manager. And what I found is that simple conversations and building trust is always the way to let people understand the need for something. So you have to be able to have the conversations ahead of time. You have to show somebody what this is for. When they get mad, a Bearcat vehicle, I could understand that. If that's what we drive down the street, that's ridiculous. It looks like a tank. But in the case of a hostage situation or a high risk extraction, when people are getting killed, the ballistic protection, then of course we need to justify that to them with reality, not just justify it because we want the image. I believe anything that's just there for image or some kind of a deterrent that looks military, we don't need it. Anything that's there for operational need, for necessity, like Sean said and like Bob said, I believe we have to have the trust to do it. And it should be at our ready, but it shouldn't be the norm. So we need to have those conversations and explain what the equipment is and let people come on board and say, yes, that would be necessary. I would want my daughter and son safe from that school using this equipment. And thank you.
Thank you. Christina, I'm going to give you this question first this time. And the question is, what programs can the Sheriff's Department offer to at-risk individuals, specifically youth?
Well, that does speak close to my heart because reform is one of my main tenets of my platform as I run for Santa Clara County Sheriff. We need to have many types of programs, but we do need to have the education in place. But what needs to follow the education is we need to have quality job opportunities that are afforded to these individuals after incarceration or before incarceration. We need to have educational and job opportunities to our children, even before they enter the system. if we do not have quality job opportunities for these people who have received these educations, we are not doing them any service. I have connections in the communities where I could get quality job opportunities to these people and make them upstanding citizens of our society.
Rosaline, you're muted.
I'm sorry. I was coughing, so I muted myself. Sean, could you take this question? Thank you.
Sure. I believe the sheriff's office, we have a large department. It's the largest department in the county. We have a lot of resources. So I believe we can do things like school fairs and hold job fairs, not just based on law enforcement, but based on our community. This is the tech capital of the world. The marginalized communities that have the distrust, or any community that has distrust for law enforcement, we could hold events so that people can see that we're real people, just like everyone else in our community. We're citizens as well. This is a citizen comprised organization. So I think putting on those those kind of job fairs, advocating, as Chrissy said, educational programs and resources so people can be gainful in employment. I think all those things are things that we can do in our organization that we're not doing well. I think it's a doable situation that we're not doing well. So
Thank you.
all right.
Kevin?
Thank you. I was really, really glad that I was able to run our community service division and the reserve division. When we did that, we had people in Paula school, not as school resource officers, but they were there actually after school sports. They did after school mentoring. We didn't look like thugs. We looked like people that were actually there to help the community. And they really were good. That was one of our best programs. We also had peer forums. And I also worked on the juvenile detention reform with juvenile probation. So I think we need to involve other stakeholders. The sheriff's office has to partner. We can't think we have all the answers. We should be able to refer people and to bring people in from juvenile justice and I worked on disproportionate minority confinement. We had to find solutions about these problems. And the way to do it is to work with all the stakeholders, with probation, with schools, we want schools to want us to be there to help, not to feel threatened. So I think the way to do that is to build relationships at parent forums, at school forums. We need to have the kids feel that they are going to get help and they're not going to feel that they're being threatened by a uniform. I'd rather have them see us as soccer moms and PTA dads and the same thing. And so working with others within this, I think that'll work.
Thank you. Bob?
Yeah, this is something I've been working on since the 1990s. When I was in Los Angeles, I partnered with the Los Angeles County Los Angeles County Unified School District Safe School Center in looking at diversion and alternative programs for first-time weapon offenders. That program actually evolved to when I was a captain at Lancaster Station. We started doing diversion programs or alternative diversion programs, a vital intervention directional alternative program, which would give gang members or at-risk juveniles an opportunity to change their path. And not only would that alternative program be something they could do, it would be connected with a university. In LA, it was the Antelope Valley University, to where every year they would give one of the graduates of that program a full ride scholarship. That scholarship program is still in place today. Here in Palo Alto, we do the Parent Project, which is a great partnership with Palo Alto Unified. It's a program that really combines the student, the at-risk student, and the parents going through the program together, looking at alternative lifestyles. This is one of the things that we can bring into the county, make it countywide, really looking at bringing in all sorts of different programs, either into the adult correctional or even the juvenile correctional facility, and also really transitioning some of the opportunities that are usually left at the state level for rehabilitation, bringing that funding into the county level so we can get skill-based apprenticeship programs for the workforce. There's a tremendous need for green workforce jobs. We can get those apprentice programs in place today.
Thank you. Thank you. Our next question now is we have time for just one more. And this one, this is hard to choose which one I should pick, but I'm going to go with the one that involves the community. What type of community oversight should exist for the Sheriff's Department. And we're going to go with Kevin first on this one.
Thank you. So I've been calling for oversight for the last 10 years. I participated in the Blue Ribbon Commission, speaking many times before them and the board. I believe that law enforcement has to have trust to get a seat at the table. And we at the Sheriff's Office, many good men and women haven't, but our management has led us down a path where we don't look that way anymore. We don't have the trust of the public, and it shows. So with all that's going on, I think that what we need to do is work with Janako, work with people like I had, Judge Doris Cordell. We have to be transparent, because if we are not actually letting people see what we do, then they have to guess at it. And sometimes they see something that might be bad that could be explainable. Sometimes they see something bad that we actually own. If we do it, we own it, we're transparent, and we get better. But if we don't, then why would anyone have the ability to trust us after what we've gone through? There are great people doing a great job, but for every failure that you cover up, you lose the trust for a long time. It's your last worst act. So we have the kind of oversight in place now. We have to actually work with the people that are there now and comply.
Thank you. Bob?
Yeah, no, I love this question. I'm the only candidate that's actually had accountability measures to that level at 2 out of my 3 assignments, both in Los Angeles, where we had the Office of Independent Review, which happened to be Mike Janako and his firm. I dealt with them then. This is back in 2011 through 2013. And then here in Palo Alto, we have the Office of Independent Review, the auditor. So again, being Mike Janako. So that relationship needs to move forward from day one, is expanding that relationship, expanding their scope and what they review and how they do it. In addition to that, one of the things I've done in every assignment I've had, both in LA, Menlo Park, and Palo Alto, I create community advisory groups. These are made up of residents and business owners from that community. So for the county, we would have several, because we have Saratoga, Cupertino, Los Altos Hills, and then the unincorporated. And they give the access to the community members, direct access to the upper management on strategic issues, on policy protocols. So they have an understanding and we have an understanding in how they want us to serve them, because it is a partnership. So I think that's very valuable. Thank you.
Right. Sean?
I too have had some interactions with Mike Janako, and you know the what's going on now again is the law enforcement controls the material, so there's a lack of transparency. Putting a civilian oversight group in place that likely that has teeth is my objective. I'm exploring the options of even using them in that auxiliary form to give them more access to certain things that's prohibited by law under the Peace Officer Bill of Rights, and getting them in so they can actually have a good grasp of what's going on. That of course will require some training on their part, getting them trained up into some of the laws and basic Peace Officer Bill of Rights laws and so on and so forth. But right now we don't have that. Of course, we have a sheriff that's not cooperating with the subpoena process. So I intend to do all those things. But again, going back to that civilian oversight group, it has to have teeth. So in order to get, they need access. And what I'm not hearing from my opponents and other police leaders is how to give those people access without violating the law, without violating the due process of police officers. So I think there's ways to do that. Thank you.
Right. Thank you very much, Sean. Christina?
Thank you for that question. During my research, I have found some very uneasy connections with Michael Janako that he may not be the answer that Santa Clara County is looking for. He lost his job because he was directly related to Los Angeles County Sheriff's Office, and the relationship with them terminated the contract. I believe that we do need to have a completely new, brand new oversight committee entity that takes over the sheriff's office moving forward. We cannot regress to what has happened into the past. And we need to, like I said, move forward with somebody brand new that does not have those uneasy ties with Los Angeles County.
Thank you, Christine. We now move to this segment where you each have a minute to conclude. And we are delighted and happy to listen to you. Let's do it alphabetically. So that Sean, you come up with Allen as your last name.
All right. So I believe I touched a lot of things tonight. One of the biggest things I want to reiterate As far as me being elected sheriff, as I will continue to institute and support real reforms, real transparency, real accountability. The law enforcement culture is hurting. It's hurting because of its leadership. Not just one agency, it's nationwide. That's why the culture, that's why the perception of the culture through our civilian population is what it is. So in order to maintain trust with the community, we have to have leaders in place that with the understanding of we're holding leaders are responsible for creating policy, discipline, hiring, and training. That's the culture. And so right now, this agency is failing at that. This agency has failed at that. It's failed at that for decades. And we need someone who's not going to give you promises to fix things. We're going to give promise someone that has been doing it. You can look at my opponents and we there's a difference. I have been doing this for years. I will continue to do it, and I will be transparent. I understand what this county needs. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. And alphabetically, we go to Kevin.
Thank you. Since 1985, I was given a gift, and I think that people understand there's got to be the right motivation. If you look at competency, character, and motivation, I think I have the best balance of all those things. I've worked the highest levels of this agency with excellence. I called out the problems for the last 10 to 12 years because we are better than this. I've served with distinction in every role at the highest levels. I've run these. I know the operations. It's nice to work in these other levels, but once you've actually dealt with a $190 million budget and 1,200 employees, more than anyone else here, then you start to get the understanding of the complexity of what we're dealing with. The fact that 97% of the Deputy Sheriff's Association backed me, that I called for oversight and they want my accountability and they trust me means volumes. Every law enforcement agency that has endorsed me. Bipartisan support with leaders all over the community, from Blanca Alvarado and Judy Churko and Magdalena Carrasco to Johnny Camus to Bob Winter, the former sheriff, and so many more. South Bay Labor. I've got the unions. I've got the business, Mark Class. So the reason they trust me is they've seen me for 37 years, and I appreciate all the other candidates. But I'm telling you that it's a personal endeavor for me to bring the trust back because they gave me a chance. After having the dysfunction of a father in the worst prison in the United States and having a family like mine, to get this gift, I want to pay it back, and I'll never stop paying it back, and I appreciate it.
Thank you, Kevin. Right. And Bob, you're next.
Yeah, no, I mean, I also respect all the other candidates for running, but the reality is, a lot's changed in 10 years since Kevin retired, and a lot's changed in the last 2 years in this profession. It is a very complex and a constantly changing profession. I have a record of using innovative approaches to build back relationships, keep our communities safe, and really enhance the much needed reforms that are needed. The Santa Clara Sheriff's Office needs a leader that's equipped today, not one that's going to learn on the job. My 36 years of experience, especially the last 11 as an executive, I'm uniquely positioned to reform the Sheriff's Office, restore the public confidence in the office, take care of the workforce, and take care of the community. It's very, very important to bring a fresh perspective to this organization that is suffering. And I ask you to join me in creating that new approach to public safety. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Christine.
Thank you. The Sheriff's Office is in dire need of reform, and I know that I can deliver these changes. I am the only candidate who wants complete law enforcement reforms, and I am the only candidate who's currently working on the line, and I see the problems that occur on a daily basis. My opponents are too far removed from the current issues to effectively solve them. I'm a lifelong Democrat. I'm a common sense progressive, and my views for sheriff, they fall in line with the California Democratic Party. I will fight for Santa Clara County's most vulnerable communities, protect working families, and ensure that everyone has a chance to live the American dream. I want Santa Clara County to be a place where our kids can be proud of where they live and the residents can feel safe. I am running to change law enforcement, not just here in Santa Clara County, and not California, but everywhere. And I can envision Santa Clara County to be the role model in policing for the entire nation. My opponents have claimed to make changes over many, many years, but law enforcement is still in the same predicament. And as sheriff, I will have a bully pulpit, I will have a voice, and I will use it. Thank you.
Thank you. We have just a couple minutes before we need to close, and I want to find out something just fun about you guys. So you are to give me in the next couple of seconds what kind of pet you have, or if you're allergic, that's fine too, but what kind of pet, what your favorite sport is, and what your favorite food is. So pet, sport, and food. Got it? Okay, who wants to go first? Thank you, Christine.
My favorite food is Japanese food, sashimi, of course. I don't have any pets, but I have 12-year-old twin daughters that play ice hockey. So I probably have to say that ice hockey is my favorite sport, although I am a Pittsburgh Steelers fan and I do love my Pittsburgh Steelers. I love football.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, Bob, go.
Yeah, my favorite pet of all time recently passed away, a French Mastiff who I adored tremendously. My favorite sports is football. I've been a 49er fan since I was a child, and my favorite food is pizza.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Kevin, go.
Sure. So I also lost a pet and we cannot replace it. A Pomeranian lived 18 and a half years and been tough. So I feel you, Bob. And as far as food, I am kind of tossed up between tacos, which has always been my favorite, but I'm really kind of starting to like some of the sushi that's out there. So, but as far as the sport, it used to be my own favorite sport. Now it's whatever my 9 grandchildren are playing and they play else. So I have to root for that, whatever that sport is at the season.
Gotcha. Well done, Kevin. Very diplomatic. Sean?
Well, I'm a dog lover. I have a Belgian Malinois. I've had those working breed dogs for most of my life. My boys play baseball, so baseball is the family sport. And my house, my wife is Persian, my ex-wife is Mexican, so food is kind of up in the air. But I do appreciate a good piece of sweet potato pie regularly. Mom's sweet potato pies. Soul food is kind of my love too as well. So
Yes.
thanks.
Yeah. I can eat everything you guys all mentioned. All sounds delicious to me. Right. It's been a real pleasure to have you with us this evening. And we're going to be closing now with some very specific messages. But we want to tell you, we appreciate those of you who've already filled out your voter information so people can go to Voters Edge and learn about you. And if you didn't fill it in, please do and get that on there right away. Judy Connor, our league member who handles all of that, is anxious to get all of you on there. So we're going to close, and we have a slide to put up there, and that will come up in just a second. And there it is. So once again, I am emphasizing Voters Edge. And don't forget, that is your personal one-stop ballot information where you'll learn about these candidates and others. And all of the candidates, of course, will be on there. But we're really pleased that we were able to have Bob and Christine and Kevin and Sean with us this evening.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Right.
Thank
And
For the opportunity. Have a great evening.
right, we have 2 more things to share with you. First of all, June 7th, that's when you vote, folks. You can get your ballot. In fact, they'll be arriving in the next 2 weeks, and you can certainly vote by mail. We encourage people to do that. If you have any questions, go to your county office, and they'll help you out. And you can even follow your ballot through an SOS program they put on last year. And so don't forget to vote on the 7th. And Voters Edge again keeps coming up. I think they're trying to send me a message that I'm supposed to talk about this. But I also want to tell you that we have other forums for other candidates coming up that League is sponsoring. These are the ones that our San Jose Santa Clara League is sponsoring. And so you can go on the web and you can find out all about these. And most of all, we really want to tell you how important democracy is. It is not a spectator sport. You must be involved, you must be active, and it's so important in these days with so much negativity out there. So join us, join the league if you'd like. Love to have members, and we love to have people involved. So go and vote on June 7th. Thank you again, candidates, for being with us this evening. The sheriff's job is a tough job. You all seem to be qualified and wonderful people. Thank you also for running and being involved in our county. Good evening, everyone, and take care, and see you at the ballot box.
Bye-bye. Thank you.